Hello and welcome to Superpower Broadcasting. I'm Kevin Castley. Thank you for being here tonight. I know we already got about 7 people already waiting, right for the stream to begin. Very based. Happy 4th of July. Happy birthday to the United States. The based country. The best, the greatest. Oh man, everybody's here. We got neoconservative forever. Hot gang. Anthony Roberto. Yo, what up, Anthony? We got the man. He's here. Just woke up. We got Henry of American Madhouse. America. Oh, man. We got Jaeger de Pedo. Elon Musk said, Chomsky sucks. Best 4th of July present ever. I saw that. Oh, man. Elon Musk. Now we talked about him on the stream before. Interesting guy. Eccentric guy. And I love that he's not down with Noam Chomsky, the snoring and boring. So if you want to watch my video where I completely wreck Nutter Noam, snoring and boring, Chomsky, check it out. It's just Noam Chomsky, snoring and boring. I mean, in that video, I went over one of the clips with him where he's being interviewed by Abby Martin of Russia Today / Telesur. And they just basically talk about how America's the bad guy and everything. Oh, man. Yeah, no, we're not here. We're not here tonight to talk about those clowns. We're here to celebrate the biggest superpower of them all. The country that changed the world, that liberated millions, billions of people from tyranny. That, of course, is the United States of America. So thank you for being here. So here's the deal. It doesn't matter if you live in the United States. It doesn't matter where you live in the world. If you live in a Western country, you might say, oh, but actually Norway has a better standard of living, man. It's like, I don't care. Norway would be a part of the Russian or German Empire if it weren't for the United States. Canada, pretty great country. Stifling taxes and stuff, but beautiful place to live, right? I like Canada. Here's the problem. Canada would be a Soviet gulag colony without the United States of America. That's not even debatable. That's a fact. Think about it. Siberia, the place where political prisoners were exiled to the gulags in the Soviet Union. What would Canada be? It would be Siberia's Siberia if it were not for the United States of America. If you live in a free country, you owe your freedoms to the great protector, America. I mean, she has the largest military in the world. She as well has the overwhelming nuclear umbrella, which protects the Western Hemisphere. And if you don't live in the West, if you live in a country that is currently being oppressed, it is America that is the beacon of light. It is America to whom you turn. It's America you call upon in your hour of darkness. It's not Norway or Canada, unfortunately. It's the United States, because the United States has the courage to step up to the plate and say, well, somebody's got to be the police of the world, because that's a fact. The world is anarchic. That is a basic fundamental fact of the international condition, the international system we live in, is that there is no world government. It is chaos. It's anarchy at the level of states. And in that chaos, there must be somebody to fill that void of power. It just so happens, thank our lucky stars, that the United States won the Cold War and America earned the role as world police. Imagine the Soviets had won and they earned the role of world police. On whose behalf do you think they would be doing the policing? Would it be the oppressed peoples rising up against terrorists and tyrants? Or would it be to intervene to quell the rebellions, to support their puppet terrorists and tyrants? So America, yeah, America's the world police. China could be the world police. Fascist Russia could be the world police. They could do it too. But my point here is that when America does police action, it's on behalf of human interests. And you could say, oh, actually, it's for American interests. Yeah, human interests. Human interests and American interests are almost indistinguishable. Russian interests are, oh, we need an empire so that Putin, he can graft off of the fruits of the labor of the country and put that money into his Swiss bank account. Likewise, the Communist Party in China, Communist China, Red China. They're not interested in the conditions and the well-being of the people on the ground. They're only interested in promoting their puppet dictators so that they can consolidate their power in an anarchic world order. America, on the other hand, even though America plays by much of the same principles and understandings, America represents freedom, democracy, and capitalism. And so even if America plays the same game, you root for America because human interests coincide with American values. Oh, the Russians bomb people and the Americans bomb people. A fool would say, oh, they both bomb people. Somebody who understands what's going on would say, the Russians bomb mostly civilians to intimidate them so that they can keep their puppet tyrants like Bashar the Butcher in power. America bombs brutal tyrants. Bit of a difference there. When America kills civilians, it's unintentional collateral damage. When the Russians do it, it's to intimidate the people and punish them for rising up against their oppressors. They're both police actions. One happens to be police that maintain law, order, the rule of law, human rights, etc. The other is policing in the same way that a mafia boss does policing. Oh yeah, he's going to break your knees if you don't pay up. That's what the Russians are like. They're an overblown mafia state. Sure, they have all the pomp and circumstances, and they have the religious dogma of a state, a nation state, in the proper sense of the term, right? The great Russian people, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's just an overblown mob family. That's what it is. You could say, but America has Trump. Yeah, Trump was democratically elected, and he very well likely is going to be democratically told to leave in a few months. That's America. Even if you get a leader that you think is bad, you can vote for somebody else. You don't have that option in fascist Russia. You don't have that option in communist China. And you don't have that option in anywhere that falls under their sphere of influence. Look at what's happened with Ukraine under Yanukovych. And so this might be controversial. I understand that to some people, even those that are loosely affiliated with this community, this might be controversial, especially given all of the wokery that's occurred lately. But I'm going to say it because it needs to be said. For the time that America has existed since 1776, America has always been, is, and will always be the greatest country in the history of the world. Now, the UK is a great country. They've made great sacrifices against fascism and in the interest of promoting democracy. It pales in comparison to what America has done. The world order as we know it exists because of America and American resolve. Imagine that the isolationists had won over and said, we don't want to have any interest in the world. No, they didn't win over. There have been periods in American history where isolationist rhetoric has had some appeal and slightly derailed things. But almost since the inception of America, the founding of America, America has been a state willing to protect and expand its interests abroad. We can look at the Barbary pirates they went to war against almost right away. America has been at war for the vast majority of its existence. America is a country that does not shy away from upholding its standing. And so there have been brief periods of let's stick our head in the sands and pretend that the rest of the world doesn't exist. But by and large, America is the bravest country out there of the democracies, of course. Russia, you can make the case, they're brave. they go and fight and kill civilians and stuff and kill people fighting for democracy. I mean, I guess that takes courage. But I'm talking about the West. America is the vanguard of the West. Oh, man. So we got people in here. We got a lot of people in the chat. Very good to see. Got 12 people on YouTube. 0 people on Twitch right now. But if you want to do me a solid, definitely watch this on Twitch as well so we can get the viewing metrics up over there. Yeah, USA #1. I agree. Yeah, no, and that's the thing. It's not even close because, like, you can think about how great of a country Britain is. Like, see, this is the pill. I did a video on this. I might even actually link it in the description below after this stream is over because I think it's a really relevant video to celebrating the 4th of July. I have a video I did probably about 7 or 8 months ago. It's called America is Not Exceptional. America is meta exceptional. And so what do I mean by that? Well, in that video, I go over the arguments that other people make about how some countries in Western Europe or Canada might score better on some metrics, whether it's education testing, whether it might be, you know, some nuanced aspects of healthcare, it might be childcare, etc. Here's the deal. I'm not saying that the UK is a bad country to live in. I'm not saying that Canada is a bad country to live in. In fact, when we compare the over, you know, about 200 countries in the world, Canada, the United Kingdom, obviously Germany, the Netherlands, France, Portugal, Spain, South Korea, Japan, these are all excellent countries. And in that context of about 200 countries that are out there, they are exceptional countries. But all of them would be communist hellholes or fascist hellholes if it were not for the United States of America stepping up and standing up for the Enlightenment and establishing the world order as we know it and fighting for it and sacrificing for it and waging the most consequential period of enmity in human history, that of course being the Cold War, when 75,000 nukes were involved between the two powers, ready to go at a moment's notice. And America said, yeah, we're not going to back down. It would be easy to say we can avoid the nuclear war and surrender right now. America said, no, we will fight this. And even if we think we might be on a trajectory towards winning, we will give it our all anyway to ensure that we win. And yeah, did America crack some skulls? Did America fund some bad guys like Pinochet and stuff? Yes. But when you're in an existential battle for the existence and the continuity of the Enlightenment against the Red Scourge that is aiming at global domination, and you have to choose between financing and backing a dictator for 20 or 30 years until you win versus you lose and they have their dictator in perpetuity, 10,000 years, 100,000 years, a million years, 10 million years. As the North Koreans say, they have the 10 million year reign of the bloodline of Mount Baekdu in reference to their dynasty. Well, if nobody does anything about them, then why wouldn't it be 10 million years? As I say, to go back to the analogy of one of Newton's laws, you know, an object will maintain at rest or in motion unless acted upon by an external force. In other words, objects don't just all of a sudden start moving by themselves. Or if they're moving, they don't just stop by themselves. They have to be acted upon. Likewise, with a tyranny such as North Korea, a consolidated tyranny, nothing will happen from within. The system will continue. Everything exists to preserve the prestige and the continuity of the leadership. However, an external force, you're looking at him right here, you're looking at that eagle on the screen, that base bird can act and change the course of history. Oh, man. So here's the deal. Here's the deal, right? I mean, we're talking about how everything, every aspect of Western society in any of these countries. To go back to what I mean by meta-exceptionality. Canada is a great place to live, great cities. Likewise with the United Kingdom, likewise with Germany, likewise with the Netherlands, and so on and so forth. Likewise with Japan and South Korea. Imagine America did not exist, and the American nuclear umbrella did not exist, and American intervention had not been a force to safeguard these countries against the forces of communism and fascism. None of these countries would exist in any manner of exceptionality. Canada would still be a thing. It would be a gulag colony plundered by the Soviets. Japan would still be a thing. It would be a fascist hellhole. South Korea would still be a thing. It would be a part of North Korea. The land would still be there. Some of the people would still be there. Others would have gotten, purged, right? But they wouldn't be exceptional places to live. They would be places that it would suck to live in. But they're great places to live in. They're exceptional countries. But does that make America exceptional? No, America is not exceptional because all these exceptional countries owe their very existence to America. So you can't call America exceptional. America is meta-exceptional. America transcends exceptionality to a higher order of magnitude. We're talking about exceptionality squared. All exceptional countries out there owe their existence to America. America is not a mere exceptional country. America is the greatest country in the history of the world. And it is beyond my comprehension. I can't see it happening that there could ever be a country to rival the United States in terms of exceptionality and in terms of standing up for the enlightened order. I know people have said before, oh, well, Europe could unite as a federal state and then they could be a rival. No, they wouldn't. They'd be weak. They would be, just as the French were in World War II, they would be beholden to the Russians. They would trade with the Russians. They would be soft on Iran. They wouldn't do anything about North Korea. They'd be aggressive, woke, miserable place to live that would deteriorate very quickly. America has resolve. America has power of will. Yes, there are blips and there are troughs in that. We've seen, as is the case with Donald Trump, we've seen that will wane. However, America as a country, America as a state maintains its resolve, right? And in the grand course of history, this is but a blip on the radar. And if the Enlightenment is to persevere and expand and immerse the world in liberty and opportunity and prosperity, it will be because of America, and American resolve, and American leadership, and American will. And so that's kind of my speech here on the 4th of July, because it doesn't matter if you are an American citizen or not. If you are a citizen of a free country, you owe your freedom to the United States, not just for their leadership in World War II, not just for their industrial might to protect the Allies and bolster the Allies, not just for the idea of the American Revolution, not just for all those other battles throughout the centuries, but also the Cold War, most notably. The fact that you are not waking up at 6 a.m. to dust the portraits of the dear leaders in Moscow is proof right there that America is the greatest country in the history of the world. And America will always be the greatest country in the history of the world. And if I could have it my way, the world would be the United States. It wouldn't be the United States of America because America is just one part of the earth. It would just simply be the United States. Countries as we know them right now, you could think of them as just more states, right? More stars on the flag. Or just amalgamate some of them, maybe have others kind of be their own states and stuff. But the whole world is one country with its capital in Washington, D.C., where the revolution started. I mean, July 4th, 1776, you got, Independence Day, Declaration of Independence right there. Said, no, we're not going to take it anymore. We're done with British tyranny. And that is what started in motion, if we do it right, about a 500-year plan from 1776 to 2276, from where you have a fledgling, burgeoning 13 colonies just gaining independence to where in 2276, 500 years later, imagine that. The whole world, one country, one United States of Earth. Imagine the glory. Imagine the basedness. Never again would anyone be disappeared in the night to a torture chamber or a gulag or to be executed. Never again would there be political purges. Never again would there be this battle, this enmity, this division between the leaders and the representatives of freedom and free peoples and the tyrants and the tin pot despots of the blocks of the enslaved. Right now, we live in a world that is divided. It is divided between islands of freedom and continents of tyranny. But it is America that has changed that course over time. And there's still a lot of work to do. But America wasn't scared when the largest country in the world pointed the largest nuclear arsenal in human history at America. And America said, yeah, bring it on. Let's go. You want to rumble? I'm going to put Pershing 2s in West Germany. Oh, you scared now? You scared now? That's what Ronald Reagan did. Ronald Reagan looked at the Soviets with 40,000 nuclear weapons in 1986 against his 25,000 nuclear weapons. And you know what he said? He said, I call your bluff. We're going to put these things here. You got 5 minutes alert time from if we launch to when Moscow goes up in smoke. What are you going to do about it? And you know what the Soviets did about it? They withered away. And when Ronald Reagan went over there, you know what he said to them? You know what he said to the leader of the Communist Party? He said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. And you know what the leader of the largest country in the world, the Communist Party, you know what he said? He said, yes, sir. He said, yeah, basically he did it. He did it, and they tore down the wall. Yes, we're in a sad state of affairs right now. I term it the era of cringe because the current American president, when he goes over there, the Russians tell him, hey, trust the KGB over your own intelligence agencies. And he says, yes, sir. But again, he is a short-term blip. He is a short-term trough in terms of the course of American history. There will be high points again. The neoconservative renaissance is yet to come. I can't wait when we have absolute hawkish leaders again, where 2% alone is not enough, where 2.5% defense spending is not enough, where we get Reagan-pilled and say, yes, 8%. All NATO countries should be spending 8%. We're in an existential battle for the future of the Enlightenment for all time. Think about it. Robert Kagan of the Brookings Institute, he talks about this all the time. If you watch interviews with him, he talks about the idea that it is not written in stone. It is not divinely ordained. It is not planned out that the West wins, that the good guys win at the end of the day. Because if the good guys lose the resolve to even defend their principles on which they stand and which make them good, as he terms it, the jungle, in other words, what I'd call the continents of tyranny against the islands of freedom, they will engulf the world. And it is very possible that if we throw in the towel and say, we don't care about what we fight for anymore, we're actually the bad guys. We have, Western guilt. We're privileged. The Russians, they're just victims. Let's just let them have the world now. Let's give them a turn. Well, it's not outside the bounds of reason to think, well, maybe the Enlightenment would never come back. Now, I don't think that that's the case. I think that at some point in human history down the road, humans would regain that spirit of revolt. But it would be more difficult because now they're up against modern technology, modern surveillance states, the type of cameras and high-tech security forces and riot control and gulags that the people back in the French Revolution, the American Revolution, didn't have to contend with. And it would be very difficult to foment a revolution again. And so I think it is very possible that you could see the Enlightenment die for another 10,000 years, or 1,000,000 years, or several million years before another revolution would be successful. Do we really want to lose millions of years in the course of human history to go into the long dark ages? Because that's what happens if we say, America isn't worth it. America is a net negative. We're done with America. Let's let the Russians be the world police. Let's let the Chinese be the world police, the communists. I'm not down for that. And neither is the state of the United States. And to go back to what I was saying, Ronald Reagan was so hawk-pilled, he didn't even have to use nuclear weapons. He didn't even have to use conventional forces. And the Soviets, they bowed down under the might of American industry and military capacity and innovation and freedom, because freedom breeded all of that. The Soviet Union was spending about 3 times as much of their GDP as a per capita basis as the United States was on defense. 8% sounds like a lot, because right now America spends about 2.5% on defense. But under Reagan, it got up to about 8%. In other words, 3 times what the US spends today. It would be about a $2 trillion a year defense budget instead of $700 billion in real terms, right? The Soviet Union was spending 22% to 25%. Again, 3 times. That'd be like if they were the United States right now, $6 trillion a year, almost 10 times what America spends right now. And you know what? They lost. Why? Because a communist country, even spending 3 times per capita, still couldn't spend as much as the United States, because the US economy was more than 3 times as big as the Soviets. Even though the Soviets had more resources, even though the Soviets had more people, even though the Soviets had far more land area, even though the Soviets had allies that comprised far larger territory than American allies did. And they lost, because it wasn't about the territory. It wasn't about the resources. It wasn't about the population. It was about freedom and innovation, ingenuity, and industry. That meant that just one American was more prosperous and more productive than many communist denizens. That's what the Enlightenment does. It's a pill. And we can't say, oh, it's a jagged pill, it's an uncomfortable pill. It requires essentially saying, I'm not going to be ashamed of myself. I'm going to champion humanism, etc. It's easy to say, oh, those people, they're the underdogs. Let's root for them now. It's hard to say, whether we're winning or we're losing, I'm going to stand with this, because this system is what the world needs. So there we go. So about half an hour in, I'll take a look at the chat now. I don't really have much to add to this. That's kind of my 4th of July speech here. So big up to the United States. Never stop being based. So let's see what we got in the chat. We have the man 782. He says, the Cold War was the right thing to do. Meaning here that America was right to wage the Cold War, rather than say, this is complicated, this is scary, let's just preemptively surrender to the USSR. He writes, Oliver Stone can suck and live in his communist hellhole. Oh yeah, Oliver Stone is a filthy traitor. I'll say that. I mean, and I don't just mean a traitor to the United States. I mean a traitor to the Enlightenment. A traitor to the West. This loser, this prominent filmmaker, this esteemed loser goes out there and has tea with Daddy Vladdy over in Moscow, the KGB thug, the butcher of thousands, the tyrant who has plundered the fruits of Russian labor for 20 years. This is a country where the GDP per capita in real money, real terms, was higher in 1986 under communism than it is today under Putin. They made about $10,000 a year in 2020 dollars in 1986. Today, they make less than $10,000 in 2020 dollars. They make less now than they did under communism in real terms. 30 years of nothing, no growth. In fact, a slight decrease in their annual income in real terms. Why? Because it all went to Putin's Swiss bank accounts. We can talk about, does Jeff Bezos have more money or does Bill Gates have a higher net worth? But that's not a real competition. Vladimir Putin has trillions of dollars. He's the richest person in the world, one of the richest people in history. He's plundered the fruits of the Russian people's labor for 2 decades without interruption. So we're going to keep looking through the chat. We have Olympian God. He says, down with the traitors, up with the stars. Shouting the battle flag of freedom. American Madhouse says, best country ever. Mike's here. He says, happy 4th. The man says, US, UK, Canada, Hawks unite. Oh yeah, I've said it before. Hawks of the West unite. Don't care if you're German, Canadian, American, South Korean, Japanese. All Hawks need to unite right now. Got Talking Fridge. He says, hey, Kevin, over on Twitch. All 8,000 nukes? Yes. Henry says, the only tea I drink is liberty. Yeah, and this goes back to the point that I was saying earlier, and this comment was probably made earlier. It's about 20 minutes old from the man. He says Europe would fall without the U.S. Yeah, they'll never be a superpower. A united Europe on its own without America would eat itself. It would be too woke to battle the Russians. The Russians don't care if they're woke or not. The Russians are realists to the core. The Russians don't care what anybody thinks of them. They're going to butcher anybody that gets in the way unless they're stopped by a more powerful force. The Europeans, they'll be like, oh, maybe we should sit down and do nonviolent communication and try to see where he's coming from. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't mean offense towards anybody in Europe or anything, but your leaders are feckless. You have neoliberal losers like Macron and Merkel who don't have a hawk bone in their body. They're not like MacArthur. They're not like Eisenhower. They're not hardened. They're not leaders with strong willpower like Hillary Clinton. They're not Ronald Reagan. They're just, oh, this makes me feel uncomfortable. Let's talk about our feelings kind of people. Maybe they should have a job in the state departments of those countries. But even then, I'd want more forceful diplomats. But we're talking about heads of state. The heads of state should be warriors. They should be hawks. They shouldn't be these little pigeon shits that we got over in Europe. What a joke. We got Wyatt Claypool. He says, regardless of how good some countries are internally, only the USA tries to make the lives of people around the world better in the scale that they do. Yeah, and that's 100% true. Canada, as an example, has done some good work with peacekeeping in the past, though that's basically been brought to a halt lately. But even then, it's very minimal, very small scale, and Canada didn't even do anything about Rwanda. Now, America didn't either, but that's a problem. America, in fairness to America, did do something about the genocide in Bosnia and the surrounding regions and Kosovo. So America has been busy trying to uphold enlightenment and freedom and human rights around the world. Yeah, and American Madhouse says Americans have freedom of speech and Canadians and other countries don't, and that's true. He says we have the Bill of Rights. Yeah, no, America has free speech. You can say anything in America. You can say racist stuff in America, and you have the right to say it. You don't in Canada, and I think that that's dangerous because it's easy to say, well, racism, that's clearly offensive. But then once you've done that, now you can just move the line more and more and more until anything that's against the government is deemed offensive or controversial. That's how tyranny starts, man. That's not complicated. So I support absolute free speech in the American sense of it. You don't have the right to like yell fire in a burning theater or in a crowded theater if it's not burning. Like you don't have the right to do stuff like that. You don't have the right to incite violence, for example. But you should have the right to say things politically that make people uncomfortable because free speech doesn't exist so that you can say things that you agree with other people. It doesn't exist so that you can say, oh, aren't butterflies kind of cool? And like the eagle's kind of cool. No, it doesn't exist for that. It exists so that people like, for example, Richard Spencer can say what they do. And you might think, oh, well, I don't really like him. He's kind of a scumbag. He's kind of a racist. Yeah, but if he doesn't have free speech, pretty soon you won't either. Because if you think they're not going to come for you in time, well, I got news, dudes. Read a history book. So, oh yeah, and then I'm back to that comment by the man. Yeah, screw Oliver Stone. And screw all of his stupid films, his filthy films. Yeah, the hawk is a based animal. Yeah, and Henry points out you got the moon. America went to the moon. Soviets tried, but it was almost entirely the work of Sergei Pavlovich Korolev. He was the chief designer that they had. And if he had been born in America, America would have had everything. Like the Soviets, they had some successes in space despite how much they sucked. It wasn't because of their communist system, it was despite it. Because there were awesome people that happened to live in the Soviet Union that wanted to go to space, and they were smart, and they were geniuses, like Korolev. He could have well been born in America, and then his talents would have been used for America. Yeah, I guess he joined the Communist Party. He had to. But those were people that they had dreams, they had scientific dreams, and they had families they loved. And they had egos, and they wanted to be known. Now, of course, he was never known until after death for his own security, because the Soviets couldn't let people know who the chief designer was, because then the Americans would assassinate them. But assassinate Pavlovich Korolev. But the deal is, that wasn't like some victory of communism. That was Korolev. That was him. It was an individual success. If anything, that's proof that a capitalist system is better, because it wasn't all Soviet people working together that designed that rocket. That it wasn't all Soviet people working together that designed the mechanisms that got Gagarin into space. No, it was a handful of people. And those people would have been just as bright in a capitalist system. And they would have had much more of the fruits of their labor returned to them, rather than expropriated by the Central Committee. So communism sucks. So, and Elon Musk agrees, that he's out there on Twitter today telling Noam Chomsky, Nutter Noam, to go suck it. I love it. I love it. I hate Noam Chomsky. I hate Noam Chomsky with a burning passion. I went to university for years, and Noam Chomsky is seen as this patron saint, this unquestionably correct man. He's an absolute fifth column. He's one of the highest order fifth columns that we have living amongst us. Fresh News says, happy 4th of July. Welcome to the show, Fresh News. Welcome to the chat. Yet communism is the lack of freedom. Yet one of the worst crimes in human history. Henry says, America is exceptional because of our history, freedom, and the military. Oh yeah, economic system. social liberty, the Enlightenment, population, etc. I mean, America is just like, it doesn't even come close. Like, the only countries that get kind of close in terms of all those metrics are like the United Kingdom. But even the United Kingdom, it's like nowhere near close to what America's done in promoting the liberal order, individual rights, human rights, etc. I mean, man, because there would be a universe out there, if the multiverse is correct, where, you know, the Soviets won and they go around as the world police after the 90s. That's not a good world to live in, where the Soviets are intervening in your country to help the dictator in your country stay in power. When America intervenes, it's to get rid of the dictator, to free the people. So, yeah, the man 782 says democracy is non-negotiable. Oh, I love this right here. Henry says, light entered a world of darkness on July 4th, 1776. Thomas Paine, the Enlightenment. Oh, man, that is so based. United States of Earth. 195 states. Yeah, Truman is my based hero. He stood up to the Soviets. Yeah, Truman was based. I talked about this on Twitter earlier. It's Mount Rushmore. It's not Mount Rushless. We should have more presidents on Mount Rushmore. If it were up to me, I'd make it 7 presidents. So obviously we have Washington, we got Jefferson, we got Roosevelt, and we got Lincoln. Who would I add? Which 3 would I choose to add? You can probably guess whom I'm going to pick, right? Especially if you saw the tweet, then you already know. But I'd add Harry Truman, the based, Ronald Reagan, and George W. Bush. I'd add them to that. Like, 7 figures on there. No, I wouldn't put Trump on Mount Rushmore. I know that Trump wants to be on Mount Rushmore. That's never going to happen. Trump is not an exceptional leader. He's not going to be remembered. Even if he gets 2 terms, he'll never be like a Reagan type figure. It's just, you don't stand out in history by saying, oh yeah, I guess I believe Putin's KGB over our own forces, over our own intelligence. No, you don't get to become a great statesman by basically being like what? Like, I guess it would have been Peter the Third was the Tsar in Russia that was originally married to Catherine the Great before she was Catherine the Great. He was Tsar for like a year, and he loved the Germans, and he made all the Russian soldiers dress up in German-styled uniforms. So they did a coup, and then Catherine took over and had her own husband imprisoned and executed so that she could take over. And she believed in Russia, and she was like, oh, no, you guys should wear Russian uniforms. You're Russian soldiers. And they loved her. And she went on to build a great empire, right? Very, very big empire. I mean, we're talking everything from Poland and Ukraine and a lot of the Eastern European area, all the way out to the Pacific coast on Kamchatka and Vladivostok. I mean, huge area. And she's like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to uphold the symbols of this country. Choose me. Let's get rid of this goofball. Donald Trump's going to basically be remembered like the Peter the Third type dude, basically. Except he's not going to be like, in prison or anything like that. Like, America's a free country. Imperial Russia was an absolute autocratic system, right? But see, there's a reason that she's remembered as Catherine the Great, and he's remembered as like one of those sad dogga type memes against the Chad dogga, That's why. People don't really like it when you sell out your sort of national symbols and values and everything. And all Western countries share a common belief system with America. Sure, the tax rates might differ from like Norway to the US. Sure, things like, uh, certain freedoms might vary, certain laws might vary. Weed might be legal here, weed might not be legal there. But we're all part of the American system and we're all part of the American order, the liberal order. So, yeah, and Mike just says America should annex the entire world. I mean, see, that's the thing. It's not even debatable that the world would be a better place right now if the rest of the world looked like America does today. Here's the thing. A lot of our opponents, if you offered them the choice to say bloodlessly, no war, no insurrection, no insurgency, nothing, just you can flip a switch and right now all of the world will look like Texas and Wisconsin and California and New York. Or you can leave the world as it is right now with like North Korea and Iran and Syria and all of these despotic regimes. You know what? A lot of our opponents, especially like the socialist opponents, the alt-right opponents, you know what they would say? Oh, I'm not a globalist. Let's leave the world as it is right now. Those dictators, that's their sovereignty. Those countries, they can choose how to behave. They can choose their own leaders. In other words, Kim gets to kill anybody who disagrees with him. They wouldn't think the world was better if the world looked like Wisconsin. Now ask an average person in North Korea if you could get them to answer what they truly believed, which you couldn't because they live in the most severe cult in human history. If you ask them their honest opinion, hey, would you rather have things look like Wisconsin, or would you rather be living in this coal mine working until you die, so that Kim can ship the coal over to China so that he can buy another swag Mercedes, another swag Benz? They'd say, oh, I'd rather live in Wisconsin. Oh, and you could say, yeah, but like there's McDonald's in Wisconsin, so it's exploitative. They have profit there. It's capitalism. Actually, capitalism killed more people. These types of brainlet memes, these narratives from losers like Noam Chomsky, Abby Martin, Jimmy Dore, Kremlin Kyle Kulinski, Young Turks, Tucker Carlson, all these kinds of people out there. No, it's a joke. Total joke. No, the world should be the United States. Everybody in the world would be better off if it was like America than what it is right now, divided between the free and the enslaved, divided between the poor and the prosperous. Imagine if everybody was free and prosperous. Imagine how base that would be. Imagine how glorious that would be. One capital, one country, one planet, all citizens be based, shared values, etc. One enlightened world. Oh, and American Madhouse says miles over kilometers. Oh yeah. Yeah, I personally, I think in metric for the most part, but if we get rid of like dictatorships and suffering and starvation and poverty and genocide and all that, so that the world can be one country, the United States, but they use miles and inches, I'll take the imperial system any day, bro. Screw the metric system. The Russians use the metric system. Yeah, United States of the Milky Way in 2776. Yeah, 1 millennium of exponential growth, from the founding of the 13 independent former colonies to the whole Milky Way as one galactic empire. Oh man, that'd be so based. Yeah, Reagan was based. United States of the multiverse. Oh, that's so good. That's so meta. We got Richard Hawkins here. He says Hawk. Oh, man. Red, white, blue. Yeah, but Olympian God is basically correct here. Imperial system is better than the metric system in everyday life. Metric system better than imperial system in STEM. That's true. Like even the United States NASA uses metric, right? Like, I mean, it's just easier to do scientific stuff and deal with orders of magnitude and everything with metrics. So we must defend the liberal order no matter what. Enough of the fringe and cringe. That's why I'm here, man. That's why I'm on YouTube. That's why I'm the vanguard of the West on Twitter. Go follow me on Twitter if you haven't done so yet. Yeah, we got an active chat tonight. Like, I'm still way far back. I'm still like half an hour back in the chat. We had so many comments. Love to see it. Yeah, Olympian God says $2 trillion for the defense budget, as I was talking about earlier. That sounds awesome. Yeah, that's where it should be at right now. Like, if it was me, that's what I would do, 8% of GDP. And that's if I'm like the leader of the UK, or if I'm the leader of Canada, or if I'm the leader of the United States. Doesn't matter. I'm doing 8% of GDP to the military. Oh, but what about jobs? And what about putting money in to stimulate jobs? The military can be jobs. People work in the military. Yeah, Henry says only free country on earth. I mean, American free speech. That right there is the pill. Only free country on earth, America. Henry's saying he put FDR, Washington, Lincoln, Jefferson on Mount Rushmore. The man 782 agrees Truman. Olympic God says Macron is a joke. He slams NATO and wants to create an EU army, yet they can't even pay 2% to NATO. Yeah, see, that's the thing. Imagine that Macron got his way and they did have a European army set up. It would receive like 1% funding. It would just be in disrepair. It would be ineffective. It wouldn't be able to respond to crises around the world within a day's notice. It would be a poorly maintained veneer of strength. It would be a Potemkin village, a hollow shell. It would be an unfortunate waste, unfortunately. Anthony Avistu Bisson is here. He disagrees about the Macron sentiment. So we have a debate going on in the chat over Turkey. So I'm about 15 minutes behind still on the chat. I do want to kind of catch up to the current discussion, so I'm going to skim through this now. We had some awesome comments tonight. Thank you to everybody for being here with us tonight. We still got about 20 people with us. Very cool. How's everybody's 4th of July going? You guys go out, like, were there fireworks and stuff where you were at if you live in the United States? Like, I know that there's the pandemic mitigation stuff still going on, so I don't know if there were many fireworks displays. I've just been at work all day, basically, so. Mike says Kevin getting based tonight. Yeah, it's good to have you here, Mike. So yeah, it's been a bit of, oh yeah, Henry says American Leviathan. Yeah, America forever. Oh, we got Star Manipulator Cam. He says Castley 2020. Oh, that's based. Oh, that's based. Absolutely. Absolutely. But like, if Kanye West is actually going to run for president, yeah, he should seriously make me his foreign policy advisor. So that'd be dope. The man says Kevin should be Prime Minister of Canada. I don't really have much of an interest in going into politics directly anymore. I want to be in media so that I can move the Overton window and the political spectrum in such a way that no matter who wins, no matter which party wins, there will be a hawk in charge, whether they're liberal or conservative or whatever, right? That's the goal. Because if I run and I become an MLA, or if I become an MP, or hell, even if I became the prime minister, I'm one person, right? But if you have a big presence in media down the road, I mean, look at Rupert Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch has more influence and has more of an effect on American politics than any one American senator. Fox News is huge, right? Fox News can single-handedly set the talking points and the narratives. So if Fox News says we're going to be hawkish now all of a sudden the whole Republican Party is going to be hawkish. If they say war bad, now all the Republican voters are going to be like, Tucker Carlson told me war was bad, right? So media is where it's at in that sense. And of course, YouTube is where the people are. So ideally, way down the road, like I said before, I want to do this for like 50 years or more. So ideally, at some point down the road, I want to do this as my full-time job and then also have a side gig on old media like Fox News so that I can reach older people that don't really use the internet very much. So that I can hawk pill the boomers on Fox and hawk pill the Zoomers on YouTube. That would be like the dream. And if I'm able to do YouTube as my full-time job, I would even take the Fox thing for free at that point because it's just about the audience. So yeah, the man says you should be in media, get rid of Tucker Carlson. Oh, for sure. Yeah, and Henry's making the same point. Media is more important than the politicians. That's exactly it. So Nicholas says, Kevin for White House Communications Director, promoting hawkery one meme at a time. Oh, man. See, that's the thing. Yeah, the media war must be won. Yeah, you see, we're in a battle of ideas right now. We're in the era of cringe, and it is about cutting through the cringe. It is about pilling people on concepts that at first might make them uncomfortable. Because war, that's an uncomfortable subject. But once you realize that we are in a world that is divided between the free and the enslaved, and the leadership of the enslaved continents of tyranny, they have no interest in just throwing in the towel. We are presented, therefore, with one of two choices. We can either fight them to the bitter end and prevail, or we can throw in the towel and say it would be easier if we just gave up everything that we believe in and our freedoms, because we're bad. No, as I said before, I would rather be a warmonger than a pigeon shit. So you can quote me on that. The great media war, hawks versus cringe. Oh, and I've said it before, I run a meme page. I will pitch the meme page in the Chiron right now. We just passed 2,300 likes, over 2,500 followers over on Facebook. Not too big, but also, decent. And we're growing every day. Liberal hawk memes for moral universalist teens, been at it about a year and a half now, triggering a lot of pigeons. I've said it before. The old meme war back in 2015, 2016, it was, what was it? It was basically, it was frogs versus normies, right? It was the red pills versus the normies. What's the meme war in 2020? It's hawks versus pigeons. Because whether you were a normie or whether you were a frog, a Pepe fan, whether you were alt-right or whatever back in the day, the old meme wars, what happened to all those people? They all became anti-war. They all became guilty and saw the West as bad. So both sides agreed war bad. So the new meme war is hawks, who are champions of the West, versus pigeons, who want to sell out the West because it would be the easier thing to do. Because why should we be the world police? Let's let Russia be the world police. Oh, yeah, because that's going to work out so well. It's easy to advocate for peace when you're living at cushy on a beach in Hawaii, like Tanky Tulsi. But Peace doesn't sound so peaceful when you're a child getting gassed in the ass by Assad over in Syria. That's what peace looks like. I'll show you what peace looks like. This is what peace looks like in our world. If you choose peace, you're choosing this right here. Just going to get the image up. This is made by my friend Suzuki. He's crafted a number of very potent memes. This is what peace looks like. Right there. Oh, isn't that so peaceful? Bashar the Butcher gassing kids. And then we have Taki Tulsi there. She says, yeah, but my regime change wars, though. Yeah, because we're bad. Therefore, let's let anything happen. Oh, we're bad. Let's let all of the other enemies in the world get nukes and point them at us because we're bad. And we require force to stop them from getting nukes. Oh, now they want to go to war and now they're going to win? Oh, well, I guess we have to defend ourselves now. Well, now it's too late. Now you lose. If Russia has the world and they invade America, who's going to win that? Probably not America by that point, right? So this is about being proactive. It's about victory. It's about persevering. It's about the continuity of the Enlightenment. It's about the survival of humanity. It's about real peace. It's not peace to say, oh, they're pointing 20,000 or 40,000 nukes at us, and they have a communist system that sends people to gulags, and they want global domination, but we also have some nukes, so we can deter them right now. Is that peace? No, that's not peace. That's a false peace. There's a sort of Damocles hanging over your head and the head of your children as they go to school each morning. At any point, you could be vaporized because some party chairman in Moscow decides he's old, he wants to get the war going, and so he decides to end it and fires off the 40,000 nukes. Is that acceptable? No, it's not acceptable. And we're going to let the North Koreans now have that power. We're going to let the Iranians have that power. We're going to let the communist Chinese have that power. We're going to let Putin rebuild his nuclear arsenal. No, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. Why does North Korea even exist? North Korea exists because John Bolton wasn't president. Simple as that. Imagine if John Bolton was president. John Bolton is hawk-pilled. John Bolton understands the reality on the ground. This is him right there. Him right there, the walrus. Got him and some other hawks. Got a group photo right here. It's them getting hawk-pilled together. Got some memes. But peace and love, man. Oh, yeah, because Putin, he just wants to, love people and stuff. And not, destroy us and everything that we stand for. And not invade Europe. And not kill people just because of their sexual orientation. Oh, man. Mike says, we have to stress how vital national security is and how our internationalism advances our interests. Yeah, it's not just internationalism, it's intervention. It is a heavy-handed approach. Yeah, Google hawks eating frogs. Well, I got a picture right here. This is what happens if you're a frog. If you're alt-right and you go up against the hawk gang, this is what happens. This is what happens. This is what happens. Yeah, the Hawks will never stop fighting. It's in our blood. Yeah, see, that's the thing. We got all this energy right now, and we're pilled right now, and we're a relatively small community online. We're not going anywhere. Imagine when we basically eat away at our opponent's subscribers once they realize those guys are full of it. And now we have 800,000 subs, and Reese has 1 million subs, and Henry's got 200,000 subs, and so on and so forth. And we're the establishment on YouTube now. Imagine, we'll still have the fight in us because Hawks never stop being hawkish. It's not like one day a hawk gets tired and becomes a pigeon. That's not what happens. They always look like this, man. They always look like that. Look at his eyes. He's not going anywhere. He's going to be the worst nightmare of a pigeon today. And in a year, he's still going to be the worst nightmare of that pigeon. Look at this guy. Look at him. Look in his eyes. It's a perpetual energy. Arthur's here. Big up, Arthur. He says, who's grilling right now? Oh, yeah, you guys go to like any 4th of July barbecues and stuff? Nicholas says, caca. Olympian God says it's 3 a.m., man. Who's grilling at this time? He's on the East Coast. Well, you know what? I am kind of tired tonight, so we are going to wrap it up right now. But thanks for being here to everybody. So I'm just going to close out right here. So definitely be sure to like this video if you haven't done so yet. Also, for sure, be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so. Follow me over on Twitch. The link is in the description below. If you'd like to send me a one-time donation support, you can go to my PayPal. Links in the description. And if you'd like to be a long-term supporter of this channel and help make these daily streams possible and help get us up to that $100 mark where I roll out daily pre-recorded videos in addition to these streams, you can go to my Patreon. That's patreon.com/superpowerbroadcasting. It really helps your boy out. Costs money to be, premium over here on StreamYard. Costs money to have the VPN. Costs money to get the external hard drives to back up all this stuff. Costs money to just live life, right? So helps your boy out. And we inch closer towards the financial viability threshold of this channel. So big up to all the patrons that we already got. You guys are based. And the rest of everybody that's out there, stay hawkish, stay vigilant. Our enemies are disingenuous little cretins, and they will do anything and everything to try to play dirty, to undermine us. And we must be on guard, and we must be always ready to debunk their BS. So happy 4th of July to all the Hawks out there. Hawks of the West unite. So thank you for watching and have a good night. Peace.